All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this presentation on the long-term vision and objectives for our community in the Boston area and even all around the United States. What we're doing here is we're going to explore our collective economic potential for our community and how right now we are generating over a little less than $300 million every year, maybe over, and how we can harness it to create sustainable development and long-term wealth for our members. Now, the Uganda Boston community has a long-term vision for our economic empowerment. We're looking at wealth creation for our community, education, skills development, cultural and social development, and also cross-border impact for people in our community. But most especially, this is a legacy project. We're looking to leave something for our children so they can look back and see what their parents did and some of the things that they established for their economic empowerment. Now, a quick summary on this presentation. The Migration Policy Institute estimated that back in 2017, we had about 5,300 Ugandan immigrants working and residing in Massachusetts. Now, when we took this number and we estimated, let's say, maybe of that number, 80% of that population was earning an average income in Massachusetts of $67,000. That then gave us this number of $284 million. That is our economic potential in our community. That is money that we're making every year, $284 million. Now, the question is, how can we leverage that to make sure that we're economically empowered, we're creating wealth for our community and our members, and that people within the diaspora can benefit from this potential? So there's a bunch of projects that we can put together within just a short span of time. Now, the first project that we're putting together is a credit union. But why are we putting a credit union together and not any other business? Because when we start with a credit union, when we start with a bank, it will help solve every other problem that we have. We don't want to come to you and say, let's raise money for an event hall, or let's raise money for a funeral home. Let's raise money for burial grounds by then coming to you and raising that money. Would rather have a credit union, and then the funds or profits from that credit union will fund every other investment that we think of. Now, everybody knows some of the challenges that we face in our community. People pass away, we have to raise money for them. People get held up by immigration or ICE, we have to raise money to help get them out. People in hospitals, sometimes they need funds to care for them. A whole bunch of issues. We also want to solve the problem of, when people come here and don't have a place to live because they don't have credit, they don't have, your first, your last, your security, that we have custom programs of financial products that we can provide to them to help them in those beginning stages. So there's a lot of challenges our community has that we want to solve. Now, I want everybody to think about this. When Bank of America started, it wasn't called Bank of America. It was called the Bank of Italy, and everybody can look this up. And the reason it was created was to solve the problems that the Italian immigrants were facing back in the day. It's no different than what we're trying to do right now. And the reason Bank of America is as huge as it is right now is because it tried to solve the problems that their people faced back then. But then through that process, they realized that they were also solving problems for everybody else. So it may not just be our community, but it may be other communities as well who can benefit from what we're putting forward. So we're not just looking at, the pool of 5,000 or maybe the 10,000 or maybe just around the United States, but we believe we can impact everybody who's facing these problems and needs a solution. Now, what is a credit union? What I want to stress is this is a not-for-profit financial cooperative. We're not in it to make money for ourselves or make money for myself, but we're here putting this together so we can benefit the members who are part of it. The profits go back to the members in form of lower fees, interest rates that are low, low loan rates, um, and dividends as well. If you have a credit union account and you compare that to a commercial bank, for instance, Bank of America or TD Bank or Citizens Bank, you'll notice that with credit unions, they typically have lower rates, be it interest rates or loan rates. And then you also notice that you get dividends that may be compounded, quarterly or monthly or annually. It depends on the credit union. But the most important thing here to understand is a credit union is owned by the members who are part of that credit union. What does that mean? And how are dividends determined? Dividends are determined, number one, by um, your account balance. So somebody who has 10,000 compared to $100 or $1,000, their dividend return will differ. Let's assume our dividend rate is 1%. So the person with 10,000 gets 100 back. The person with $1,000 gets $10 back. And this is also determined by the time period or the policies that the credit union has in place. Now, one thing I want to make clear is the initial donations, and I'm calling them donations because they're not investments. The initial amounts that will be raised will go into the capital that's needed to set up the bank, to get the place, to get the systems, to get the human resource that will be needed to fund our operations for the first year. So that initial donation is not considered an investment. It's considered a donation. So we can't give a return or say we promise that you'll get money back on it. No. But after the bank is set up and you begin in banking with a credit union, then you will begin to see some form of return back to you in the form of dividends. Now, some of the future projects we want to tackle once the bank is set up, the first one is the event hall, because our community has a lot of events. If you look at 2024, there were over 50 events. Those are weddings, those are wedding meetings, those are music concerts, you name it. And they all needed alcohol, they all needed catering, they all needed decor. So we spent about a little over $500,000 on events last year. That is a viable business for our community and an opportunity for us not to spend that money outside of our community, but keep it within the community. Some of the other projects we want to put up are the funeral homes and the burial grounds for our people. And we're also looking at a condominium association with the goal that our people don't have to be without a place, that some of the units in that condominium association will be set up um, for people in our community who may not have access to housing and that sort of thing. Now we have three goals, and this is where we need your help. We need to reach 3,000 members, and I'm going to share the next slide that will have a link that you can follow to fill out so that when we're ready to send out our survey, we can email it to you or text it to you so you can fill it out. But we need to register up to 3,000 members. So far, we have a little over 200 people who've registered, but we need more. So we need your help to pass on this message. Number two, we're targeting to raise at least $2 million to start the credit union. So in phase two of this project, in Q2 or Q3 of this year, we'll be reaching out to members to fulfill their pledges. Now, these two links that I have up here, the first one is for you to register. Once you register, then follow this next link to enter details of your pledge. You're just providing your name and then the amount you're willing to donate to the formation of this bank. And then number three, we need subscribers. What do I mean? We need people who have experience in management, in systems, in policy, in law, in marketing, in finance, so that once we're setting up the bank and we're going through the business plan, this is the team that we'll be working with to set it up. So if you know anybody who has any experience in any of these areas, please reach out to us. We would like to speak with them and see how we can all work together to realize this project for our community. If you need to reach me, my number is on the screen. You can also shoot me an email. I'm always available if you text me first, and we can talk in length about this. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great day.